ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Friends, welcome you all to today's Founders Day program, a day of reflection and reiterating our resolve for Indian Institute of World Culture in memory of Sri B.P. Wadia and his wife Madam Sophia Wadia. As we all know, B.P. Wadia passed away on this very day in 1958, but we cherish his legacy, which has sustained for the last 60 years, and Indian Institute of World Culture is at the threshold of completing 75 years the coming August 2020. Indian Institute of World Culture was started, as we all know again, on August 11, 1945 by B.P. Wadia and his wife to foster cosmopolitan spirit among the citizens. Universal brotherhood and the moral law of karma being the foundational pillars of this great institution. In the words of Sri B.P. Wadia, this institute is conceived not as an academy for scholars, but as a cultural center for ordinary men and women, affording them opportunities to develop those graces of living which are the hallmark of humanism. Over the years, this institution has been extremely fortunate to have seen tens of Nobel Prize winners, scholars, heads of state, kings, scientists, world-renowned scholars and writers who have provided their lecture here, and also acclaimed artists performing at this very venue. Today we have with us Dr. K.S. Kannan, a distinguished Sanskrit scholar and chairperson at IIT Madras. More importantly for us, he is a life member of Indian Institute of World Culture, a former executive committee member, and a person actively involved with all our activities. He and his wife have been providing quite a lot of lectures to us over the years and have been actively involved. Dr. Kannan will be delivering the keynote today on the life and message of Sri B.P. Wadia. A very warm welcome, sir. May I now request Dr. Kannan, our President Vijay Prasad and Vice President Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Balakundiri to traditionally light the lamp, and also I invite them on the dais. We invite Dr. Kannan as well as our President and Vice President to come and occupy the dais, please. I also invite the Vice President, Dr. Balakundri, also to occupy the dais, please. So as I have mentioned earlier, Dr. Kannan is no stranger to us. While we all know him well, and I take this opportunity to briefly introduce Dr. Kannan. So he and his wife with the Vachana and Vyakhana series have been very popular with us, and he has been serving this institution over the years. So Dr. Kannan is a MA, MPhil, PhD, DLiT, and he also has a Vidvat and Ratna in Sanskrit. Dr. Kannan is the chair professor at Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. He is the academic director at Swadeshi Indology Conference Series, former professor, Center for Ancient History and Culture, Jain University. Former Director, Karnataka Sanskrit University, Bangalore. Former Head of the Department. Former Head of the Department of Sanskrit at the National College. While Dr. Kannan has received numerous awards and recognitions, I won't go into the detail, so I will give a brief introduction and name a few. Way back in 1990 itself, he was awarded with the International Merit Award for a paper on machine translation. 2007, he was conferred the Vidyanidhi for his academic excellence by His Holiness Rangapriya Swamiji. 2017, nominated as the member for Society at the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Simla. He is the Senior Fellow at Indian Council for Social Science Research, New Delhi, and he was conferred the D.Litt by Rashtriya Sanskrit Vidyapita, Tirupati. Dr. Kannan has quite a lot of publications to his credit. To be exact, it is like going beyond 140, so I won't be able to do justice by making a brief introduction of him, but nevertheless, a select publications of his were Western Indology and its Quest for Power, Shastra to the Lens of Western Indology, Reclaiming Ramayana, Western Indology and Rasa, Puru Paksha. All these things were edited volumes of the Swadeshi Indology Conference proceedings. Dr. Kannan's books are pretty well popular, and it's also the prescribed for the degree classes by the Bangalore University. Madhura Vijaya, Kumara Sambhava, Hamsa Sandesha, Baimi Parinaya Nataka Sangraha, and he has done a lot of translations from Sanskrit to English, Sanskrit to Kannada, from English to Kannada, Kannada to English. So the list goes on. Bhagavad Gita Shloka Pada Suchi, Ayurvediya Padartha Vijnana, Sukti Kosha, Itihasa Purana, Virupaksha Vasantotsava Shampu, Krudanta Rupa Kosha, Dhatu Rupa Kosha by Bharat Pratishtana, Bangalore. He has given his articles, and his articles have been published at various institutions like the Mythic Society, the La Trobe University at Australia, the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies for his journal on Inter-University Center for Humanities. Papers which he has presented at several international forums in Canada, US, Singapore, Sri Lanka, all over the country, running into more than 150. He has been invited for his articles and well sought after by reputed universities like the Swami Chinmayananda Institution and Foundation, Sahitya Academy, Delhi, J.S. Mandali, Rashakavi Govinda Pais Kendra, Kannada University, Hampi, and he has delivered, as I have been sort of reading through, so he has delivered lecture literally at most of the states in India and most of the big centers all over the globe. So I won't be able to go through this, and he has been a regular feature in most of the popular TV channels on the panel, especially on Sanskrit and promotion of Sanskrit in Chandana, Udaya, TV, Shankara, and also national channels. More near to us, for Indian Institute of World Culture, he actually conducted a 30-hour short-term course for people to understand how Sanskrit and how to tackle or use it in our public life and in our day-to-day dealings. So to his credit, in 2016, he held a very popular 30-hour program which was well attended at this very venue. So with this, with no further ado, I leave the stage to Dr. Kannan. So over to you, sir. Okay, my apologies. So one other thing is that Dr. Kannan, while he has been so ಒಂದು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು, ಇವರು ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ರೆಕಗ್ನಿಷನ್ ಅವಾರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಹಿಂದೆ ಹೋಗಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಇವ್ರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಅವಾರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ರೆಕಗ್ನಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗೇನೆ one of the things what has happened recently, so every time I meet him once in 2 months there is a new story to his history. So one thing was that recently he has been nominated for the chair as the chair professor at Indian Institute of Technology. So we take this opportunity to felicitate him. So I request the President and Vice President of Indian Institute of World Culture to felicitate him on his new hire. So I now request Dr. Kannan to provide his guest lecture on the mission and life of Sri B.P. Wadi. Over to you, sir.
सुखासनस्थं हृदयाब्जपीठे चिन्मुद्रयालङ्कृतपाणिपद्मं शुभोपगीतं विमलोद्धपुण्ड्रं नमामि रङ्गं गुरुमन्तरङ्गे. Respected high office bearers of Indian Soviet culture, Professor Balakundri, Ram Prakash, Prasad, Professor Venkatesh, and many others here. So, with my deep regards and a sense of gratitude, I stand before you to utter a few words. Today is the Founders' Day of this great institution. My association with this institution has been for a long time. As I remember, even when I was studying in the 5th standard, I used to come to this institute. I used to be scared of this institute also. I used to come and sit in the children's section then, those days, and without my knowledge, it used to get dark because they would switch on the tube lights around 5 o'clock, and around 7 o'clock when I would leave the institute, I would be afraid to go in the dark. So the streets were not very well lit those days, and I used to feel very much afraid to go alone, and those days I used to sing some shlokas to gather courage for myself. So sing them aloud till I reached home and all that. So since such young days of mine, I remember having association with this great institution. And I also used to see, even in my college days, I used to come here. I used to see Secretary Venkatramaya who would promptly be sitting there, immaculately dressed and very prompt and very disciplined. He had a very disciplined look, and he would receive the guests right there and bring the guest along with him. So, and when he would tender the vote of thanks, the first thing he would announce is, our next meeting will be, so we will announce the next meeting, and then it will be followed by the vote of thanks. So he would never tender a vote of thanks before announcing the next meeting, because he had noticed that many people, the moment vote of thanks begins, people would walk away, and therefore he would do that. So I have many associations with this. And there was this librarian, Somashekar, so who used to be very prompt. Any book that you ask, He knows where it is, and without a moment's hesitation, he would not refer to any register or search for it anywhere. Of course, those days we didn't have the computer, and his brain was the computer, and he would know each and every book, and also the importance of every book. So much so that sometimes I have seen him give certain books to people who would come and seek. He would say, "This is a very precious book. I cannot issue this book." So the person would have to come and meet somebody in the management and make a special request to get that book. Or once Somshekhar say he makes his ruling, the book would not be issued at all. So he was very prompt in that, and he knew the value and worth of every book. And this is also a place known for its neatness and punctuality. So there are many lessons that we draw unconsciously by being in an environment like this. The month of August is precious for this institution. So because this Indian Institute of World Culture was started on 11th August 1945. So which is the birthday of H.P. Blavatsky, the founder of Theosophical Society. And it was then called only Indian Institute of Culture. It was not called Institute of World Culture. And it was only in 1957 when the Maharaja was invited. So there was a grand function, and it was then called Indian Institute of World Culture to show that it incorporated the best of elements from all over the world. And there have been very many great speakers on this platform. Mr. Arakali referred to that. So, just to recollect a few names. So, Panchen Lama, the great Buddhist leader, Martin Luther King Jr., Diwan Sir C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Professor J.B.S. Haldane, the Nobel Prize winner, Sir C.V. Raman, another Nobel Prize winner, Maharaja of Mysore, Dr. V. Raghavan, Homi J. Bhabha, Master Venkatesh Iyengar, Professor T.M.P. Mahadevan, Professor N.A. Nikam, Dr. Raja Ramanna, then Professor S. Chandrasekhar, and the Nobel Prize winner, Master Hiranaya, Julian Huxley, a Nobel Prize winner, Professor Arnold Toynbee, His Highness Martanda Verma, the Travancore Maharaja, Dr. Karan Singh of Kashmir, Professor R.R. Divakar, P. Sambamurthy, field of music, K. Gurudat, great philosopher, so George Gamow, another Nobel Prize winner, C. Rajagopalachari, Louis Renaud, a great French Sanskrit scholar, C. D. Deshmukh, a great patriot, D. V. Gundappa, Radhakumud Mukherjee, a versatile scholar, and then Jayaprakash Narayan, the leading politician, Mahesh Yogi, Mrinalini Sarabhai, Dr. S. Bhagavantam, Arindam Chakravarti, S. K. Ramchandra Rao, Shishir Kumar Ghosh. It's a very big list, but I have stated only the names of some very important persons who have addressed from this platform. And once I read those names, I feel greatly hesitant whether I deserve to stand on a platform, a hallowed platform like this. So it's a great place to, and it's an honor to me to, of course, I have spoken from this platform over a dozen times. I have given lectures as long ago as early 70s. There was one Professor K. Iyengar, so was a professor of architecture, and I had given lectures along with him, so on Ananda Kumaraswamy, and then it was sometime in 76 or 78, so I still preserve that card, so which was printed here. So this is a very great institution, and to be associated with it, and the number of books in the library, both in the main library, in the children's section, and the number of journals that come here, so it's an honor to be associated with this institute. And the credit for establishing an institution like this goes to B.P. Wadia, so himself a very great person. So B.P. Wadia was himself a very great scholar. So he had studied the primary scriptures of various religions. So in 1908 he moved to Adyar, and then he was also the Theosophist magazine, and he was the president of Madras Textile Workers Union. So he worked as that also. So much so that when Mahatma Gandhi died, he was approached by people to fill the place of Mahatma Gandhi. but he was too shy and he would not be associated with that. And during his association with the movement for say our so there is an interesting article by him on Swadeshi and Swarajya. He was under arrest in Ooty, and he was along with Annie Besant and others. So he was there in Ooty under house arrest. So he was with the United Lodge of Theosophists in Los Angeles, and then he had some differences and some problems, and he left for the United Lodge of Theosophists at Los Angeles, and he established several lodges in US, in UK, France, and in 1928 he married Sophia, who was associated with this institute till her very last days. So to the passing away of Mr. Wadia in 1958, and then for some of you may not know that this institution had its branch in one in Bombay and one in London. So it was he who started the Aryan Path, the monthly, right from 1930. We are very fortunate to read in the English World Culture Bulletin many selections from the Aryan Path selected by Mr. Ram Prakash. So 1945, this institution was established, and this road was named after Wadia. So again on 11th August, which is the birthday of H.P. Blavatsky. So it is, as I said earlier, it was originally called Indian Institute of Culture, and afterwards it became this World Culture. There is also the W.Q. Judge Hostel for students here. In fact, one of my classmates was here. So Wadia was associated with the labor movement and the home rule movement, and for 18 years he was lecturing, writing, editing and managing the publishing house at Adyar, and he was a very self-effacing man. He loved anonymity, and the numerous articles that he contributed to the Aryan Path, they were unsigned. He would not even mention his own name. And in a few of the names, articles, he mentioned his name only as Shravaka. Shravaka is a Buddhist disciple. So he was associated with the Congress Party also for some time, and he was in touch with some of the greatest figures of those days, Radhakrishnan, Sarojini Naidu, Bhagwan Das, and others. And for 3 months, as I told you, he was under house arrest at Ooty. And Sophia Wadia, his wife, she started the East-West School, which is one of the very famous schools just close by. So there were some 700 pupils, and there was also a Montessori at her own home. I have met her, so I met Sophia Wadia, and I visited her home several times. And at one point, she requested me to make a list of all the Sanskrit books in this library, and I have made a list of the Sanskrit books in this library. So I still have that list with me. And it was in 1958 that Wadia died, and in 1959, this road came to be called B.P. Wadia Road. And there was also this W. Kwan Judge Cosmopolitan Home, and it was in 1957 when the Maharaja visited here. He called this institution was renamed Institute of World Culture. So the last talk in 1958 was given by B.P. Wadia, the title Our Soul's Need. So that day he felt a bit uneasy while reading the talk, and he broke in the middle. His wife took over and read, and after 10 days he was no more. So this in brief is the outline of the life of Professor Mr. B.P. Wadia. We would like to know what his ideas were, what made him get inspired to start this institution. He was born in 1881 and passed away in 1858, 78 very fruitful years. There are over a dozen books and pamphlets written by him. I don't have time to read them over. So I will take up only a few key issues that are over this dozen books and pamphlets that have been published by him. And just now I was discussing with Mr. Ram Prakash, who said the Institute of World Culture is the idea of bringing out, reprinting all those books. It's a very welcome addition. Now, the first question that I put to myself was, what were the ideas of B.P. Wadia regarding, say, some of our own texts? So, as a theosophist, he would respect all religions, and what did he have to say regarding Bhagavad Gita? So, I'd like to mention 6 points of B.P. Wadia regarding the Bhagavad Gita. One thing he said, the Bhagavad Gita is an allegory and a symbolism. He said, these are his words, I quote, Bhagavad Gita refers to the greatest of all wars, which takes place on the field of duty. He translates the word dharmakshetra as the field of duty, which is located in the mind of man. So the Bhagavad Gita is not merely an external event, it is something that happens within us. And he says, we are all Arjunas, so to show the universality of Gita. The fight is to be fought by every human being, whether he lives in India or not, for it is raging on the sacred plane of our body. Each one of us then is Arjuna, he says. So the Upadesha of Lord Krishna to Arjuna was not to but one person, it is for the entire humanity. Elsewhere he says, the Bhagavad Gita is the greatest of scriptures. Among the books of ancient and true psychology, there is hardly any which equals in directness of instruction and depth of inspiration the Bhagavad Gita. Two outstanding features of the Bhagavad Gita he marks as the directness of instruction and the depth of inspiration. So the way Arjuna, who refused to fight the battle, his conversion to a person who would fight a very spirited battle. Now this conversion, this inspiration, so is provided by this text Bhagavad Gita. Wadi also emphasized the importance of Shravana. He says, he draws many parallels, even from the Greek. In the Pythagorean school, he says, the first thing is hearing. The hearer is called akaustikoi, and then he becomes a practitioner, asketai, so which comes close to our tapas. So he cites the Bhagavad Gita verses, Tadvidhi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya, and says, Idante jnanam akhyatum guhyad guhyataram maya vimrishyeta dasheshena yathekshasi tathaku, underlining the word vimrishyeta dasheshena. He says, he contrasts between what Arjuna saw and what Arjuna heard. What Arjuna saw when his chariot strode between the two armies made him despondent. What he heard so energized and inspired him to proceed to victory in the greatest of all wars. So he says, listen first to the great and then grasp their ideas and then act accordingly. So he would call himself a Shravaka. So this, as I told you earlier, is a typical signature of B.P. Wadia. And there is a whole book called Thus Have I Heard. This is the book. So it is actually speaking the transcription of the words in most of the Jataka tales and in the teachings of the Buddha, where he says it begins with Evam Maya Sutam. So thus have I heard, it begins with. So in keeping with that and following that tradition, he also has entitled his book Thus Have I Heard. And he also knows how the Bhagavad Gita is an allegory, and extending this, the idea of the Bhagavad Gita, he says, the outer wars are but elongated shadows of the wars within. So when it is warring inside, wars begin outside, and therefore how to regulate our own heart, that becomes the most important thing. One of the most important problems that Wadia recognized today is the destruction of the family. So he was greatly concerned and greatly disturbed at this, and he says, surprisingly, the solution for the problem, for the restoration of the importance of the family, is to be found in Manu, he says. In days when attacking Manu was a fashion, so he upheld the value of Manusmriti, especially in regard to the protection of the family system. He quotes from the sacred doctrine, so it says, how wise and grand, how far-seeing and morally beneficent are the laws of Manu on connubial life when compared with the license tacitly allowed to man in civilized countries. So the so-called civilized countries are giving way to licentiousness, whereas that's not the case in the case of Manu. So who knows the importance of the value of the family. So Continuing from the secret doctrine, he shows how Indians never had the concept of the original sin, which is propounded in the Christian scriptures. He says, with the Brahmins, so he quotes from the secret doctrine, with the Brahmins who have never invested with the original sin element and natural procreative functions of mankind, it is a religious duty to have a son. So you don't have to feel, one doesn't have to feel guilty to raise a family. A Brahmin in days of old, having accomplished his mission of human creator, retired to the jungle and passed the rest of his days in religious meditations. He had accomplished his duty to nature as mortal man and its co-worker, and henceforth gave all his thoughts to the spiritual, immortal portion in himself, regarding the terrestrial as a mere illusion, an evanescent dream. So the life pattern that is depicted in our scriptures, especially in Manusmriti, he used to praise. So Vadiya grieves that the joint family system is gone. With the breaking up of the joint family system in India, home building has entered a new phase of development. Struggle for existence is keener in the Western Hemisphere, where man has not only to compete with men, but also with machines. This struggle has proven to be a shattering influence on home building. The influence has already touched the westernized cities of India and threatens to penetrate our already impoverished and starving villages. These words, so he said, so in the year 1960, he marked these years, and he quotes with approval the statement of Manu. He quotes Manu, he says, as all creatures live supported by the air, so the three orders, that is the ashramas, exist supported by the grihastha. Manu says, the original is, yatha vayum samashritya vartante sarvajantavaha, tatha grihasthamashritya vartante sarva ashramaha. And he shows how even Confucius concurred with this. He says, Confucius says, those who would order their national life must set about ordering their home life first. So it's when the homes are stable, so when the homes provide the right atmosphere for proper nurture, so it's then that a nation can be happy. And Vadiya notes how some of the greatest sages in India were all grihasthas. There is nothing to be ashamed of being a grihastha. And he also shows how there is this exemplar of Lord Vishnu himself being a grihastha. He says, family is a great school which teaches unselfishness and temperance, which provides opportunities of walking the path of renunciation in an easy way, which causes the birth of pure love, that is sacrificial love, and rewards it as it is poured out. Vishnu is called the great householder, Mahagrihastha, the protector of earth, the preserver of justice, the provider of the weak. What Vishnu is to the universe, the Grihastha is or should be to humanity, then only will it cease to be an orphan humanity, which it is now. So he shows how the building of the nation starts with the building of the home, and therefore this was very well realized. Few people focus on this idea. They speak of grand theories, but the fundamental unit of the nation is the family, and that's what we attended to. Speaking of the status of woman, he says, in the Vedic period, women were not, this is also from the secret doctrine, he says, women were not placed apart from men in penetralia or in zananas. Their seclusion began when the Mohammedans, the next heirs to Hebrew symbolism after Christian ecclesiasticism, had conquered the land and gradually enforced their ways and customs upon the Hindus. The pre and post-Vedic woman was as free as man. So he draws a contrast between the status of woman earlier and the status of woman later. And he says the audience showed the true model woman. So he says, certainly in no other country of the ancient world do we come upon such peerless queens of womanhood who elevated the hearts and minds of men in the home, in the mart, on the battlefield, as in this land of Arya. He says this Arya Bhumi is the one just showed the model of women at all levels. As a learner, as helper, as counselor, the Indian woman of old was unique. Nowhere can be found the equal of the gracious daughter, the cooperating wife, and the counseling mother of Aryavarta. So the status of women in our country has been very well brought out by Mr. B.P. Wadia. Another important aspect that Wadia stresses on is the tradition of the respect for elders that Hinduism cultivated and showed. He quotes from Manusmriti, he says, the service of the father, mother and teacher is insisted upon in the laws of Manu. The service of these three is called the highest austerity. To quote Manu, he says, Acharyo Brahmano Murtihi. The Acharya is, we have Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava and Acharya Devo Bhava. So the Acharya is the very incarnation of Brahman. Acharyo Brahmano Murtihi. Pita Murti Prajapatehi. The father is the embodiment of Prajapati. Mata Prithivya Murtistu. And the mother is the very embodiment of Prithvi or the earth. Bhrata Swa Murti Atmana. The brother is the embodiment of one's own self. Tesham Trayanam Shushrusha Paramam Tapaha Uchit. So to serve these, these three itself is something great. Itself is a tapas. So he says the respect for elders in this matter, India holds a great lesson and a model for the entire world. He pays attention to every aspect. See, in the Aryan Path and elsewhere, he used to contribute articles which are just 2 pages or 3 pages, but they contain the essential wisdom of the various scriptures, and especially the Hindu ones. Referring to the food of the body, so there is one article. He starts with the Bhagavad Gita statement, those who dress their food but for themselves eat the bread of sin, being themselves sin incarnate. So this is nothing but the translation of the verse of Bhagavad Gita 3:13. It says, Te tvagam bhunjate papaha ye pachanti atmakaranat. And he also emphasizes that in order to lead a noble life, one must make it a point to eat less. So we have all become gluttons. He says, excessive eating is prejudicial to health. This is from Manusmriti, he is quoting translation of that. Prejudicial to health, to fame, and to bliss in heaven. It prevents the acquisition of spiritual merit and is odious among men.